We'd been drifting for 2 days. The storm had torn through faster than the forecasts predicted, battering our trawler until the mast snapped and the engine flooded. The radio was dead. The waves had eased, but now there was only an unnatural calm. No gulls, no wind, just the creak of the hull and the slap of water. When the fog came, it rolled in from all sides at once. Thick and gray, it swallowed the horizon until I couldn't tell sky from sea. The others retreated below deck, but I stayed topside. I couldn't explain why. Something in that fog felt deliberate. It wasn't just the soundlessness. The water itself looked wrong. It had a darker hue, almost oily, as though the sea here was thicker than it should be. Around midnight, I heard the first sound. Not the waves, not the groan of wood. Something below us. Deep, slow, and rhythmic. It wasn't a heartbeat, but a deep beat nonetheless. Carrying through the hull like a vibration felt more than heard. The others said it was the swell against the keel, but the swell doesn't change direction mid-beat. The fog never lifted. We saw no sun, only a diffuse glow overhead, and yet the days felt longer than they should. Days passed. The sea around the boat began to move differently. The surface bulged almost imperceptibly, as though something massive passed just beneath. The water didn't break. No dorsal fin, no tail, only that slow displacement circling. At night, the sound grew louder. The vibrations rattled bolts in the walls. I felt them in my bones. The others stopped speaking. We slept in shifts, but none of us truly rested. I started dreaming of the dark below, an endless plain of silt, and something vast and slow rising from it. The first disappearance happened on what I think was the 5th day. Paul had gone out to check the anchor line. I was below, pouring the last of the coffee, when I heard the splash. By the time I scrambled up, the deck was empty. The rope dangled over the side, severed clean, the frayed end still dripping. No one suggested diving after him. By the next night, the hull began to groan in a new way, not from the waves, from pressure, as though something pressed against it from outside, testing the strength. It came light thuds, steady as breath. We found water pooling near the stern, no holes in the hull, no leaks from above, just seawater welling up from the seams of the planks. When I touched it, it was warmer than the air. The others sat on the deck staring out into the fog, eyes fixed on some point I couldn't see. When I asked what they were looking at, they didn't answer. The sound below was no longer a single beat. It was many. A chorus of deep, resonant thuds, layered and overlapping like the slow breathing of a crowd. And sometimes, between those beats, I'd hear something else. A dragging, a shifting of enormous weight across the seafloor. By what must have been the 9th day, only 2 of us were left above deck. I found the others gone in the morning, their boots still lined by the hatch, as if they'd stepped out barefoot into the fog. I thought about starting the emergency flare, but there was no point, no horizon to signal to, no sign of sky at all. The beat had risen higher in pitch now, and it was close enough now to stir the water in my cup. My teeth ached from the vibrations. Then, without warning, the sea stilled completely. Even the lapping against the hull stopped. From the fog, a ripple moved toward us. Not a wave, something beneath the surface. It came without sound, pushing the oily water upward in a wide swell. The swell passed beneath us, lifting the trawler several feet. I saw it then, not clearly, but enough. A curve, impossibly large, vanishing into the depths. The surface glistened black, ridged with shapes like barnacles the size of boulders. It circled once more, and then something rose alongside us. At first, I thought it was part of the creature, but it was a structure, or what remained of one. Stone, slick with weed, carved in a way no current could have shaped. An archway, yawning from the deep. The beat thundered now, reverberating through my skull, synchronizing with my pulse. I stumbled to the rail, unable to look away as the water within the arch shimmered, distorting the fog around it. Shapes moved there, slipping through the threshold as if the ocean itself was exhaling them. A shadow rose behind the arch, so vast it blotted out the diffuse glow above. I think the other survivor jumped, or maybe he was pulled. His scream vanished beneath the surface before it even reached full pitch. The shadow's edge reached the boat. Something touched the hull and I felt the heat through my boots. The wood began to soften, warping inward. I should have done anything but stand there. The arch flared. Not with light, but with depth. as though it opened into a darker sea than the one we floated on. And then, in one motion, the shadow turned its gaze toward me. I didn't see eyes. I saw the absence of them, the suggestion of a face too large for the mind to hold. The beat stopped. Now I'm somewhere else. The water here is thicker, the light darker. I can't move my legs. They are part of something larger now, tangled in slow, rhythmic movement. The others are here too, drifting between the shapes of whatever this place is. We are all breathing in time with it, and the fog is still rolling. The wind tore at me before I even reached the cliffs. Salt stung my eyes and mouth. My hands ached from gripping the broken wheel, and every crash of the waves made the boat shudder like a living thing. Rocks jutted from the water like sharpened teeth, and the hull groaned under the weight of the ocean's fury. Panic hammered in my chest. I had to get out. I had to move. I had to escape. But the cliffs rose on all sides, sheer and slick, black stone slick with seawater, unclimbable. The first scream tore from my throat without thought, swallowed instantly by the wind and waves. Something scraped along the hull. I couldn't see it, but I felt it. Wood splintering, metal groaning, water rising with a menacing patience. The boat shifted violently, pinning me to the deck, and the wind carried an acrid metallic tang, like old blood heated in the Sunday. My palms were raw, my lungs burned. Every wave seemed alive, smashing the hull with hunger. The crows appeared. Small at first, black specks against the cliffs, circling lazily, or so I thought. In the next moment, they multiplied, hundreds of eyes glinting in the moonlight. They perched on jagged edges. Wings, folding, unfolding. The sharp rhythm of feathers like claws scratching stone. They watched me. Their black eyes reflected the moon, unblinking and patient. I tried to look away, but there they were, shifting closer, sliding down cliff faces, circling above me, waiting. Every sound became unbearable. The crash of waves, the screech of gulls, the rasp of crows shifting their weight. The boat shook with each impact, leaking faster with water seeping into every crack, biting at my feet. I banged the deck with fists, shouting into the void, but there was nothing to hear me, nothing to respond, just the wind, the rocks, the water, and the black, endless watch of the cliffs. I scrambled for a makeshift signal, dragging wet cloth across the deck, throwing it over the mast, hoping and praying. The wind tore it away instantly. Panic surged. I was trapped. No horizon, no open sea, no help, only the relentless surge of water, and the cliffs looming like impossible guardians, and the crows that seemed to anticipate every movement I made. Shifting, sliding, circling, waiting. The hull creaked, wood giving way, water flooding the deck. I leaned against the wheel, trying to steady myself, gasping, knuckles white. Every shadow seemed to move, crawling across the black stone. I imagined shapes rising from the water, dragging me under. Every wave was a hand, every splash a threat. I couldn't think clearly. The wind tore my thoughts to shreds. The crows drew nearer. Their numbers multiplied with a sickening certainty. They perched on every ledge, on every jagged spine of the cliffs, tilting their heads. I realized I hadn't got long. The boat was dying, and with it, any hope of escape. I couldn't climb. I couldn't swim. Every frantic plan shredded under the weight of panic. The metallic tang in the wind grew stronger, pressing at my senses. I imagined claws scraping against the hull, shadows shifting beneath the water. My arms ached. My chest burned. My legs refused to hold me steady. The waves pounded against the rocks like drums, relentless and unforgiving. The crows shifted, wings brushing stone. Closer, closer. Their unblinking eyes tracking me with absolute certainty. I tried to move, to run, to throw myself overboard, but the water yanked at me, the rocks tearing at my feet. The hull groaned, splintered under the stress, and I realized screaming would accomplish nothing. The cliffs towered, the ocean pressed, the crows waited. Every heartbeat thundered in my ears, every breath a struggle. I was shrinking, trapped in a cage of stone, salt, and wind. The boat tipped. Water surged higher, cold and merciless. My hands slipped on wet wood. The crows tilted their heads, wings stretching as though preparing to descend, waiting for me to falter. I staggered, clawed at the deck, and the wind screamed in my ears. A chorus of broken sound. A mocking, unrelenting chant. The night pressed in from every side. Waves tore at the hull. The cliffs held me fast. The crow's eyes glimmered from every ledge. Patient, inevitable, waiting. I realized it wouldn't end with a scream. It wouldn't end at all. The ocean would claim me. The cliffs would cradle my broken body, and the black, unblinking eyes above would witness every moment until there was nothing left. I fell to my knees, chest heaving, arms trembling. The waves rose higher. The hull split beneath me, water gushing in. The crows shifted again, as if counting the last beats of a trapped, frantic heart. And I knew then, with the clarity of despair, that there would be no rescue, no dawn, no mercy. Only the tide, the rocks, and the crows circling ever tighter, ready to strike. The boat shuddered as I cut through the swells, but it wasn't the waves that unsettled me. Something deeper hammered beneath the surface, something old and patient, calling to me with vibrations. I had set out alone, seeking the wreck rumored to lie beyond the edge of the mapped coastline, but I hadn't counted on what waited in the depths. At first, it started subtly. My fingertips tingled with a wet numbness, like they were not entirely my own. My reflection in the water shimmered strangely. My jaw seemed sharper, my neck longer, my skin pallid under the harsh midday sunday. I shook my hands and tried to ignore it. I convinced myself it was exhaustion or seasickness. By the second day, the change became undeniable. My legs itched violently, a crawling sensation beneath the skin. The muscles in my chest coiled unnaturally when I moved. I could feel the water calling me more intensely, as if it recognized the changes I had yet to undergo. When I dove near the wreck, I saw them, eyes glinting in the dark water, shapes moving too fluidly, bodies too long and malformed to belong to anything human. They circled me without aggression, just watching. I felt it. Something in their gaze reached into me. A sharp pulse, like a current of electricity, coursed from my spine to my fingertips. My bones ached, stretching, reshaping. My nails lengthened into claws. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the ocean itself. My lungs burned for air, yet I could feel gills forming along my neck, delicate membranes opening beneath the skin. Panic surged, yet the water no longer terrified me. It invited me, demanded me. My hands slipped into the liquid, as if drawn by some instinct older than memory. By the third day, I could no longer resist. My body had begun the transformation fully. Rough skin, legs fused, reshaping into a tail, and my fingers webbed together. I looked down at myself and barely recognized the thing I was becoming, yet my mind clung stubbornly to the last threads of humanity. But the water beneath the boat pounded in rhythm with my heartbeat, and resistance felt futile. Something massive stirred below. Not a fin, not a shadow, an entire mass of sinew. Scales and eyes, sprawling and alien. The currents shifted around it, guiding me toward its presence. I realized with a jolt that it was not attacking. It was offering. The same pulse that coursed through my body now spread from the creature, filling me with knowledge, with hunger, with a longing that was not mine, and yet entirely so. I dove. The instant my body left the deck, the metamorphosis accelerated. My lungs adapted, gills flaring. My bones lengthened, cracked, reshaped, becoming lighter yet stronger. My vision sharpened underwater, colors I had never seen before igniting the world around me. The wreck below was alive now, or perhaps it always had been, and I had finally arrived to witness it. I felt the touch of the creature, tentacle-like appendages, slick and warm, wrapping around my new form. They did not bind me, they guided me, pushing me deeper. My hands brushed against barnacle-encrusted metal and coral that seemed to breathe. My tail sliced through the water with a speed I had never imagined. Every movement released a current of energy that thrummed through the wreck, and I realized it was teaching me, reshaping me further, binding me to the ocean in a way that was irreversible. Hours or days passed. Time lost. My mind split and merged with the currents. I tasted the history of the water. Shipwrecks, drowned cities, creatures long forgotten, their memories preserved in salt and pressure. I felt my mind reshaping, rewiring me, connecting me to the vast intelligence beneath the waves. I was no longer human, yet I carried the memory of human fear, human desire, human curiosity. When I returned near the surface, I could no longer breathe air. The sun felt distant, alien. I flicked my tail and rose just enough to glimpse a lone sail on the horizon. Its tiny human forms were unaware of the depths beneath them, of the intelligence that watched and remembered. I wanted to warn them, but my mouth could only form gurgles. My voice belonged to the ocean now. The creature drew me deeper, to a cavern beneath the wreck, walls lined with bioluminescent growths. Here, it revealed itself fully. A monstrous amalgamation of fish, cephalopod, and something that felt human long ago. It did not speak, but I understood. I had been chosen, or perhaps claimed. My body had been a vessel, my mind a conduit. I shivered with something that was no longer fear but anticipation. I am still learning, still transforming. Limbs elongate, retract, change function. Eyes appear along my torso, then vanish. I sense the currents in my thoughts, in the bones of every ship, in the hearts of every fish. The ocean remembers me, and I remember it. We are entwined. Occasionally, I surface, just enough to glimpse the stars, to taste air for a second, and I see boats, tiny human vessels, drifting on the surface, unaware. The pulse begins, calling, urging. I hesitate, caught between what I once was and what I have become. But the hesitation is fleeting. The ocean does not wait. It presses against my mind with relentless insistence, drowning out the last threads of human thought. My memories of skin, of breath, of warmth fade like a dream dissolving at dawn. I try to scream, but my mouth no longer forms words. My consciousness splinters, scattering along the currents, the wrecks, the bones of those swallowed long ago. I am everywhere and nowhere, tethered only by the relentless alien pulse of the deep. The creature, the intelligence I once glimpsed as a guide, draws me fully into itself. My limbs fold into grotesque shapes. My eyes multiply, then vanish, replaced by a darkness so complete I cannot imagine ever seeing again. I feel every dead sailor, every sunken hull, every forgotten city entwined within me. Their memories press like water against my skull, voices I cannot distinguish from my own thoughts. I am not a being. I am a vessel. I am the ocean's echo, and the ocean is patient, indifferent, and eternal. When I think of humanity, of the sun, of warmth, it feels like a story someone else told me, a story I once believed in. I am a conduit now, a hollow, living archive of the drowned, the devoured, the forgotten. My body thrashes in the cold black waters, guided by instincts I do not recognize as my own. I am both predator and prey, observer and consumed, and yet the hunger of the deep gnaws at me relentlessly. I rise toward the surface again, but it is not to breathe. The human vessels are too small, too fragile. They see me as a shadow beneath their hulls, and instinctively I feel the pulse urging me down. I descend without thought, without hesitation. The darkness closes in, and with it, my last fragment of self dissolves. There is no I left, only the ocean's cold, unyielding will, and the knowledge that what remains above will never know the terror that has become me. I am the currents now. I am the hunger beneath the waves, and the ocean does not forget.